Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So things just keep getting worse and worse for Donald Trump. I'm so here for it. His rambling, grievance filled press conference yesterday just freaked people out. He has his own campaign staff concerned about his mental state. The biggest podcaster in the world just endorsed another candidate. His running mate spit in the wind. He's now covered in stolen valor saliva. And MAGA is out there blaming everyone but Trump for all of these unforced errors that he's making. So this is fun. Let's get into the details. Yesterday, Trump held a press conference at Mar-a-Lago, if you didn't know. And for seemingly no reason. I mean, it was an obvious and embarrassing attempt to just get attention. Like the way I looked at it was the equivalent of a cat getting up on the counter and just pushing an object off and watching you, staring at you while they do it. Like there's no point, right? It's just because they're looking for attention. And Trump did more damage to his already flailing campaign because not only did he come off as just bitter and scared, he also told a very freaky story. It's like if you ever been around someone who has dementia or has Alzheimer's, there's just stories that they tell and they don't necessarily make sense. They never happened, or they may have happened to someone else. But he tells this story yesterday about this terrifying helicopter landing, right? Those helicopter rides, helicopter landing, and a conversation that never happened. So we know that this is all bogus because it's easily fact checked. You can just go look at the timing and know this didn't happen. I mean, they've gone out and talked to the people who were with him, and they've all said, no, never happened. So what happened was the story came up because Trump was asked about a man named Willie Brown. Now, you might recall Willie Brown. He's the former mayor of San Francisco, California. He dated Kamala Harris like 30 years ago, prior to being elected to that position. Trump was asked about Brown at this press conference, and he was asked, what do you think? Do you think that Brown is the reason, if he's responsible for Harris and her career? Which is, again, that's in and of itself bogus. But anyway, Trump launches into this story about a near fatal helicopter ride with Brown. Trump said, quote, "Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this was the end. We were in a helicopter going to a certain location together, and there was an emergency landing. This was not a pleasant landing. And Willie was a little concerned. So I know him. I know him pretty well. I mean, I haven't seen him in years, but he told me terrible things about her. But this is what you're telling me anyway, I guess. But, I had a big, what did he say? He said, but he had a big part in what happened with Kamala. But I don't know, maybe he's changed his tune, but he was not a fan of hers very much at that point." And that never happened. You see, what had happened was Trump actually took a helicopter ride with Jerry Brown, the former governor of California. He and the current governor, Gavin Newsom, also was on that flight. So this was in 2018. They took a helicopter. They were out surveying damage from this massive wildfire. And news outlets have reached out to both Jerry Brown and Newsom, and they each denied being in any danger. So Newsom laughed. He called it BS. He called it an act of desperation. And he recalled that, no, we didn't crash, or we didn't even almost crash, but Trump did repeatedly bring up the possibility of crashing. So this harrowing, near fatal landing never happened. I mean, if it had, it would have been in the news at the time, right? Trump was the president. If he had almost died in a helicopter crash, it would have been everywhere. It would have been news around the world. Anyway, Newsom also said Kamala Harris never came up in conversation. And why would she, right? Why in 2018, in that situation, would Kamala Harris ever come up? Also, I want you to take a look at this picture. I want you to take a look at these two men. Would you ever confuse them? I mean, one of these things is not like the other, as the song goes. Okay, that's Jerry Brown on the left. It is Willie Brown on the right. Homeboy's losing it. Not that he had a firm grasp on it to begin with, but it's slipping away fast. So his staff is concerned. According to Lev Parnas, who is a former Rudy Giuliani buddy, Trump's team has, quote, major concerns. So Parnas, you guys might remember, he helped Trump in that effort to extort Ukraine, to try to get Ukraine to help Trump win the 2020 election. So Parnas later flipped on Trump. He admitted his wrongdoing. He served 22 months in prison because of his involvement with Trump. And so since then, he's out there trying to do the right thing. He's doing like what Michael Cohen's doing. He's trying to do right by the country. He's calling out the GOP's lies, their insanity. So Parnas undoubtedly has some connection still to Trump world. Today, he posted on Twitter, quote, there are major concerns within the Trump campaign about his mental health and decline following his recent press conference. Sources within the Trump campaign expressing serious concerns about his mental decline following his press conference. This incident has led to discussions within the campaign about potential next steps regarding Trump's mental health and how it might impact his political future. Ooh, whoops, not good. Not good. Seems like the worm has turned, right? It was all about Biden, his mental health. Now it's about Trump. And he was hit with even more bad news. So Joe Rogan has officially endorsed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, whatever you think of Rogan, there's no denying he is the most successful podcast host in the world, right? He has a massive audience. That is indisputable. And he has a lot of influence with his audience. Unfortunately for Trump, that includes a lot of right-wing bro types that would have voted for Trump. So MAGA is melting down online again. Cat Turd, which if you haven't heard of Cat Turd, you count yourself lucky. It's a popular Twitter user, and he wrote, quote, so I've never been a Joe Rogan fan. Can't stand him. Yes, he has a popular podcast, but I've always thought he was absolutely politically dumb. He's great at figuring things out 2 years after we do. What a legend. So did it surprise me when he endorsed idiot RFK Jr. today? LOL, no. We are talking about the same fucking idiot who endorsed Bernie Sanders, right? He's the podcast equivalent of a dumb blonde joke. I mean, if he had endorsed Trump, they would have put him on a pedestal and said, oh my God, see, he is the smartest man alive. He's the smartest podcaster out there. So there were a bunch of other freakouts on Twitter. The comments below were so filled with cope, so filled with rage. It's just awesome. Meanwhile, over on Trump's failing social media site, his liar social site, his supporters are melting down about another thing. They're melting down about his campaign advisors. And it seems like white supremacist and popular far-right podcaster Nick Fuentes may have been the reason why. He may have spearheaded this witch hunt against them. So after Trump's disastrous press conference, Fuentes warned on Twitter, quote, without serious changes, we are headed for a catastrophic loss. Then he falsely blamed the state of Trump's campaign on, quote, the same consultants, lobbyists, and donors that he defeated in 2016. And Fuentes also said that he's declaring a, quote, Groyper war against the Trump campaign. So the hashtags Groyper War 2, Fire Wiles, and Fire La Civita were all trending on Trump's site. So Groypers, for anyone who doesn't know, that's what Fuentes fans call themselves. So anyway, bunch of Truth Social users are now posting messages to Trump. They're openly freaking out about the election. One wrote, quote, get the campaign back on track and dump those America Last traitors. Another said, quote, I can clearly see that the Trump 2024 campaign is failing, in caps. We want to see changes. We want the energy, passion, and future-facing vision that we know Donald Trump for. Stop the autopilot into oblivion and fight for us. He was never fighting for you. He has always only ever fought for himself. So, really? Anyway, there are a bunch of other people posting things along the same lines. They're blaming Trump's advisors, which is Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita. They had him on track, by the way. They had him completely on track. He was actually doing well. People were praising what a great campaign he was running this time, how it was just a well-oiled machine. It's just insane that now it gets turned on them, you know? And it's like these people honestly believe, on one hand, they're like, oh, Trump is the man. He's so tough. He's the alpha. He does what he wants. Nobody pushes him around. But then they're like, oh, it's their fault. They're making him do these horrible things. They're making him light himself on fire. They're like, they're making him punch himself in the face, as if anyone can make Donald Trump do something he doesn't want to do, right? It is so pathetic. They give him credit for anything good that happens, and then when something bad happens, it's always someone else's fault. But it's not a cult, you guys. Anyway. They have good reason to be freaking out right now because the news has been brutal for Trump. So Reuters Ipsos just released another nationwide poll showing that Harris has a 5% lead over Trump. That is outside of their margin of error, which is 3 points. And then in a separate Ipsos poll, they conducted this in just 7 swing states. Harris was up by a combined 2%. So that survey was conducted in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Kind of important states, right? And to make matters worse for Trump, Harris just scored an endorsement that we've never seen before in our lifetime. So this was from the League of United Latin American Citizens. This is the largest Latino civil rights group in the country, and they haven't endorsed any candidate ever since the founding of their organization, which was back in 1929. So in a public statement, one of their representatives said, quote, Vice President Harris has proven herself a stalwart ally and advocate of the Latino community throughout her career and is the right choice for the continued prosperity of Latinos in the United States and the future of our country. The politics of hate-mongering and scapegoating Latinos and immigrants must be stopped. So, not looking good for Mr. Trumpy Bear, right? I mean, first he's bleeding black voters. Now you've got this Latino group stepping up and endorsing his rival. That's not going to be good. Young people are leaving him and coming back to the Democratic Party. I mean, yeah, now you got Joe Rogan, who might successfully turn, white men away from Trump towards RFK Jr. Oh, wow. Not good. Not good at all for him. Ah, so much fun. Anyway, I will let you all know when I hear more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.